After Carlos Sainz's smooth operation to the victory in Australia today, Ferrari have no intention of being complacent whatsoever. Fred Vasseur and his engineers are now working to bring forward their extreme upgrades, as I've previously mentioned in a video on the channel, forward to Japan in 2 weeks' time. After the encouraging weekend down under, it will be essential to analyse the data to optimise the SF24's existing platform before increasing its potential. And we have to cast our mind back to less than 2 years ago when Ferrari were the victims of a technical directive that hampered their own performance. This had ramifications for last season's package, the SF23, which failed to deliver the lap times the simulation tools in Maranello predicted that it would. And this forced the team to cut their losses and make significant alterations. But now those changes are bearing fruit, as Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz have both confirmed the winning characteristics of their 2024 Challenger, the SF24, at the Albert Park circuit. And even when we consider the fact that Max Verstappen had to retire from the lead of the race, even his teammate Sergio Perez said that Carlos Sainz would have easily run the race today had Verstappen been around to contend for the win. So again, this is proving to be a very, very competitive platform for this particular car this year for the SF24. And as we've spoken on this channel before on many an occasion, this is internally being dubbed as the 1.0 version. It's just their baseline. They wanted to start the season with a very, if you want to call it plain or vanilla, launch spec car. So they could kind of make sure all the correlation and simulation tools were working as intended. And of course, that's what's happened, and now they're very, very confident to bring forward any updates that they have in the pipeline. Hence why they want to capitalize on this momentum that they've gained by bringing forward the Imola upgrade to Japan, which is quite exciting since I'm in Japan right the weekend that this will be taking place. So I have an idea of going down and getting a first-person view into what these upgrades are looking like and then reporting them on the channel. And just quickly going back to what Sergio Perez said about how they would have won the race, even with Max there. This is backed up by the race as well that we just saw unfold today, where the SF24 was far and away the quickest car on track, particularly when you look at the comparison between Sergio Perez and that of Sainz and Leclerc. Perez was absolutely nowhere, and even though we know Verstappen can at times be quicker than Sergio, if you take into consideration where Sergio finished over 50 seconds behind that of Sainz, that wouldn't have made a single bit of difference. So this was definitely a race that Sainz would have won. And I had that feeling going into this weekend, Ferrari were going to be fantastic here. And it turned out to be the case. But before we go any further, if you've enjoyed the content within this video, please consider subscribing, as I would greatly appreciate it, as I'm looking to grow this channel and I have a lot more content that I want to produce. And I may even be going to the Japanese Grand Prix later on in April, so I could have some really interesting content to bring you all. Right, back to the video. And there's another reason why Fred Vasseur and the Ferrari outfit want to bring forward the upgrade from Maranello to next race, and it's a wider perspective that they're keeping. And Fred Vasseur is very, very aware of F1's cutthroat nature, and Ferrari knows this better than most teams about the challenge of sustaining a strong development trajectory across the season. And with this in mind, the 55-year-old was refused to be swept away by the moment of Carlos Sainz's win. He said, We have been quick all weekend, right from the first free practice. I think we have made a good step forward compared to where we were 1 year ago, when we left Melbourne having failed to score points. We weren't disappointed with our results in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, nor will we get carried away because of this 1-2 finish. We must continue with this approach in the coming races, because that's the only way we are going to get the results we want. And I personally love this sentiment from Vasseur. I think he's a breath of fresh air for the team in Maranello. He brings a completely different kind of viewpoint and perspective on things. And I think he's making them a much more robust team in every aspect. So let's just briefly talk about now these, of course, extreme upgrades that I've talked about on the channel. So there's a link in the video at the top right where you'll have the full overview of what these extreme upgrades should be about. But I will, of course, briefly touch upon it in this video right now as well. The new look SF24 to debut in Imola in May will feature revised side pods and floor, with these evolutionary steps aimed at building upon the solid vanilla base created over the winter period, an intentional decision made by the team many months ago. Ferrari will be following an upgrade path not too dissimilar to that of which the RB19 undertook last season with regards to its cooling of their car. So one area to be revised alongside the side pod will be that of the inlets. So expect to see an extreme iteration of the air inlets make their debut, much in the same fashion seen on the RB19 from Hungary onwards last year, with it being known as the letterbox openers. A feature, ironically, which has already been utilised on the Aston Martin AMR 24 this season. This is possible for Ferrari thanks to there being no major cooling issues experienced across all the Ferrari powertrains in the opening 2 rounds of the season. Now, Ferrari also had to pay attention to their own airbox design, as it's a lot more aggressive than those of their Ferrari-powered customer cars, such as the Sauber and Haas. And thankfully for the team, there were no issues found whatsoever in this area as well. Therefore, all the time spent in the wind tunnel can be focused purely on trying to find the most performance for the car, as they aren't facing last year's cooling issues. And speaking of performance gains, as has been well documented over the last 3 years, the floor in this current generation of F1 cars is the most vital area for generating downforce and lap time. So the team have, in conjunction with the side pod and inlets upgrade, designed a brand new floor for Imola. And as we saw with all the pictures of the Red Bull floor in Monaco when Sergio Perez had his crash, and with the subsequent crashes of other teams, the difference between the Red Bull floor and that of all the other teams last season was massive. The level of detail which was found on the RB19's floor made every other floor last season look so basic, and I think this is an area Ferrari, like all the other teams, have a lot of catching up to do, but also on the other side of things, that of course means there's a lot of performance left in all of their floors to be extracted with updates. And that's why Ferrari will be bringing a brand new version of their floor in conjunction with the side pod updates. But it isn't just Ferrari bringing their first major upgrade package of the season to Japan. Oh no. Red Bull will be doing very much the same thing, as was alluded to all the way back during pre-season when there was talk of them bringing an extreme version of their own side pods. And it's going to be really interesting to watch this unfold on track in 2 weeks' time, because I think with Red Bull's upgrades, Ferrari's upgrades, there's going to be a lot more kind of gathering of data during free practices. The runs might not be as representative as a result of that, and I think qualifying is going to be another blockbuster event, just like it was this weekend for us. And again, the race should be very interesting, depending on what these upgrades bring to both cars' characteristics. Does it improve them in certain, speed ranges in corners? Does it take away from other certain speed ranges of corners? This is something that's going to be really interesting to see play out across that weekend. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that weekend. And that, as they say, is that. That is the video. I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like, comment down below, and let me know what you're looking forward to now that we finally had a non-Red Bull race win. Alright guys, I'll catch you all later.